Stirring the coffee with chopsticks using the vortex method, the only true way to optimize the taste of your coffee at the molecular level. Good morning, welcome to the Daybreak Show. I am the Sultan. We'll get started, but first, coffee. Nice. This is the last of the Weiss Premium Ground Big Can of coffee. It's one of those that you keep as the emergency coffee. You know, when the good stuff runs out, you can have an acceptable coffee. Although I've had a couple weeks of acceptable coffees, a coffee sponsor would be seen by 5,000 people a day, and it is paid advertising. Peter Gabriel said, "When I left Genesis in 1975, my creativity floundered. I shaved my head in 1978, and it was like a religious experience. It did something to me. My wife closely followed. My career took a new path with that forced change." Peter Gabriel said that. I've always said force change. I like that. As a matter of fact, when he did that in 1978, I remember that hitting Rolling Stone magazine. And I shaved my head probably in my late 20s, right down to the skin. And I couldn't keep my hand off my head. It didn't matter. If I was like just driving, I'd be touching my head when it was shaved. It was just like a weird experience to not have hair. And I'm not talking about going bald and then shaving your hair. I'm talking about having hair and then shaving it on purpose. So a few months ago when I buzzed my own head, it was reminiscent of when I shaved my head years ago as a result of reading about Peter Gabriel shaving his head. And I've always said that shaving your head is kind of like using one of those defibrillators. It shocks you into something. It's forced, shocked change. What do you need to do? Do you just need to pack up your shit and go somewhere and not wait for everything to be perfect? Just pack up and go. Break up, pack up, go. Some of you are just in relationships where you just need to break up, and you needed me to say that. You needed to hear me say that to you. It's okay. Some of you are in crappy marriages that never... Hold on now. Hold on. You already know what I'm going to say. You're in crappy marriages that never should have happened. So don't get all holy on me about these marriages that it was a union in the sight of God. Let me tell you something. If a marriage never should have happened, if you were in a wrong state of mind, if you didn't get a whole bunch of your friends and her friends and his friends and all this stuff, if you didn't get a whole bunch of people agreeing that you should get married, you probably shouldn't have gotten married. All the babies in the world, all the men's Bible studies in the world, all the pastoral counseling in the world is not going to make that marriage successful. It might happen with a few, but that's certainly not the rule. That is the exception. So again, I'm giving you permission to seek a divorce for a marriage that never should have happened. I do not think a marriage that never should have happened is a holy institute or is a holy union. I don't believe that. I don't believe if you impulsively married somebody that is a holy union. Some of you need to break up with that person and move on. A forced, shocked change. Some of you just need to shave your head. A forced, shocked change. It's almost like jumping off a cliff and then thinking, okay, now what should I do? And you got 7 seconds, if that, before you hit the ground. Jump. Take a leap. There's going to be a bunch of people that say, what if you die? Most will. 1 or 2, including me, or maybe just me, is going to say, what if you fly? Some people complement your life. Some people complicate your life. People fall into 2 categories. Those that complement your life, those that complicate your life. One of the subscribers on Twitter said, and some people constipate your life, which, if you think about it, that's just, what is that? That is just the delaying of a process. It's delaying something that should happen naturally, right? Constipation. Are there some people that are constipating you, delaying what should be happening in your life? I did it. I finally did a shit joke, didn't I? Had a great conversation yesterday with Stefan, which will be broadcast tomorrow. I will put a clip of it at the end of today's video. Hope, positivity, and optimism converge with sanity, clarity, and reason. You will like what you see. No wonder alternative media has an audience that's much bigger than any mainstream shit media or cable shit media. Forget liberal, forget conservative. Those words mean nothing anymore. Independent, anything has my vote. Independent media, most of the time, has independent thinkers. Yeah. Remember what I said about news junkie? When you start considering yourself a truth junkie and not a news junkie, your life will change. Because you will want truth and not agenda. And no, America is not over. There's a little bump in the road from a very small minority. Have hope. There's light at the end of the tunnel, even though I am slightly a conspiracy theorist. You, the normal independent thinker, have more going on in your head, in your life, in your world, than the people around you. You are the source of sanity, clarity, and reason for people in your life. Let's keep it that way. Don't you give me no dirty looks, your father's hip, he knows what cooks. Just tell your hoodlum friend outside you ain't got time to take a ride. Yakety yak, don't talk back. The Coasters, 1958. Let's talk about transition men. What about when you are a transition man? Transition men, they get lots of great sex. Transition men are the guys that are in a woman's life after she just breaks up with a long-term man or a husband. They're going through a divorce or are legally separated. You are the transition man. She comes to you with passion, sexuality like you've never experienced. You begin to think that it's love and that it's real, but you're just a transition man. You're helping her bridge the gap from A to B. You are helping her get over her loneliness and her fear of being alone. You're a transition man. You get lots of great sex. She has picnics for you, homemade meals, all the sexy pics on the cell phone. It's incredible. But you never really get the girl. She's got at least 5 to 7 men to experience, to ride, before she settles down on the beta who will be the good provider, and she becomes a born-again virgin. Those kind of women are lots of fun, but they're a huge waste of time. Huge waste of time. So if you are somebody's transition man and you think it's going to go somewhere, you better make other plans, my friend. You better make other plans. I've gone by the point of caring. Some old bed I'll soon be sharing. And I've got one more silver dollar, but I'm not going to let him catch me, no. I'm not going to let him catch the Midnight Rider. Greg Allman, the Allman Brothers, 1970. Interesting song. You probably heard the tune in your head as I was saying it. Here's a joke from Coach Everett Overton. I asked my wife if I was the only one she was with. She replied, yes, of course. The rest were all 9s and 10s. I thought that was very funny. Check out Coach EO, Everett Overton, known as Coach EO, a young man, on YouTube. The channel is called Coach Everett Overton, Mr. Champion Game. I like his channel. His channel is a refreshing take on male and female dynamics and how to be a man without the mention of pills. Red pill, blue pill, purple pill. It's kind of nice to watch somebody who isn't all indoctrinated with the Matrix, obsessed with the Matrix. And he's got the social proof. And he doesn't align himself with losers who actually have no social proof. And I've never seen him insult people on his channel. I like the guy. Young man, probably 40, I would say, from Chicago. And it's not knee-slapping, laugh-out-loud humor when he says funny things. And his humor is subtle. And I probably should do a conversation with him. I told him once that he reminds me of me when I was his age. I'll put a link for his channel down below. Check him out. In the same way that I am not for everybody, he might not be for everybody. But if he says one little thing that is a nugget of truth for you, and you can leverage that truth somehow, some way in your life, then it's worth it. And with that, finish your coffee, and I'll see you Monday morning on the Daybreak Show, your home of sanity, clarity, and reason.
People that were saying, I would never want to bring a child into this world, and you and I developed that. And I asked you to look into the camera and speak to the audience about that. And you gave this wonderful timeline of world history within just a couple minutes, basically saying there's never been a perfect time to have children. Give that speech again for my audience.
And it's funny too, because my first impetus for this came from a sitcom, WKRP in Cincinnati, back in the 80s, right? This Arthur Carlson, I think was his name, was this old guy, knocked up his middle-aged wife, and they were discussing whether to have the child or not have the child or give it up for adoption. And he said, these are troubled times. And she said, people have been saying that for 5,000 years. And it's true. Absolutely true. If my grandparents had decided that the world was too dangerous to have my mother, who was born in Germany in 1937, I wouldn't be here. So for everyone who is here, who lives, who tastes the sweet nectar of oxygen every moment of every day, who has the capacity to think and reason and feel and argue passionately for the truth and what's right, you're only here because your parents and your grandparents, your great-grandparents, all the way back to the primordial ooze, decided to say, screw danger, we choose life. Screw risk, we choose children. Don't let bad people take away the greatest joy in life, which is the creation of life. There is no joy without life. There is no happiness without life. In the human context, I'm sure a lion feels some savage satisfaction when it rips the head off a zebra. But in terms of genuine, aesthetic, philosophical, deep moral joy, that does not exist without human beings. And if you let the evildoers and the fearmongers strip you of your capacity to have children, to create life, you're taking a 4 billion year relay race and dropping it because you think you hear something in the woods. We have amazing communications technology. We're able to have this conversation and share it with what will eventually be hundreds of thousands or millions of people. We've never had a greater chance or greater capacity to fight for virtue. And for those of you who are younger, who don't know what it was like beforehand, before the internet, I've lived both sides of the equation. I've known what life is like before you had mass communications in a real, practical, vivid sense. And I thank the stars and the gods of capitalism every day that we do have this capacity. So when you've been given the biggest weapon, why would you run away from the smallest war? When your ancestors faced far greater foes with far lesser weapons and decided to fight and bring you into the existence. Do not fail them. Do not fail life. Do not fail your own capacity for happiness. And do not spit at the struggle of 4 billion years that culminates in you by refusing to pay it forward. And it will bring you not only great joy, but great courage. See, the reason they don't want you to have children is that you won't think about the future and you'll have less to fight for.